Today is the day. Take nothing for granted because it's not over till it's over, and the show starts now. If you would have asked me a month ago how I was feeling about today, November 5th, I would have told you not good. Honestly, I was worried. But as the American people have had more of a chance to get to know Kamala, well, I'm feeling a lot better about a Trump victory. The woman is vacant, and it's not because she's a woman, it's because she is Kamala. She is so vacant, so deceptive, or both. She can't even tell us how she voted on a crime ballot initiative in her home state of California, where she was a DA, an AG, and a senator. Like, what the actual F?
How did you vote on Prop 36?
So my ballot is on its way to California, and I'm going to trust the system that it will arrive there. And I am not going to talk about the vote on that because, honestly, it's the Sunday before the election, and I don't intend to create an endorsement one way or another around it. But I did vote.
Oh. Well, for those who aren't familiar with Prop 36, it's a ballot initiative with overwhelming support in California that would help to undo the disastrous Prop 47 Kamala helped design. The Prop 47 that downgraded a series of felonies to misdemeanors and single-handedly transformed California into the lawless hellhole it is today. And Kamala, who wants your vote, can't and won't tell you how she voted on it. And that should scare the absolute hell out of you. Why? Not because you should necessarily care about California ballot initiatives, but because Kamala refusing to tell you how she voted on it means all the other flip-flops she's tried to wiggle out of, from mandatory gun buybacks to fracking bans to decriminalizing illegal immigration to taxpayer-funded trans surgeries for imprisoned illegal immigrants to Medicare for all and more, that should scare the hell out of you. This woman either doesn't know what she believes in, or worse, she's too afraid what she believes in will make her unelectable if she tells you. You cannot trust Kamala, period. Joining me now on this very busy, very important day is the host of the Alex Marlow Show, a brand new show, and Breitbart editor-in-chief, Alex Marlow. Alex, thank you for coming in clutch for me today on this all-important day. I have to ask you, how you feeling?
I'm feeling great. And there is something that happened over the weekend where the Democrats told us and the entire media that all the vibes were so good, but they didn't supply the data to support that. And I'm a firm believer that feelings don't care about your facts, and our side is better off trying to appeal to people's heartstrings. I think we've got great arguments, and we don't always win on our arguments. But at the end of the day, I mean, the data is where it's at, and they don't have a good path. It feels like the closing arguments are getting increasingly desperate for the Democrat side. We saw yesterday Oprah saying that if you don't vote, then this will be your last chance to vote. Doug Emhoff, I'm sorry, not Doug Emhoff, Tim Walz, or maybe it was Emhoff. Who cares? They're the same.
The same person. I mean, honestly.
It's identical. They look the same. I can't tell them apart. One of them said, if you don't vote, women will die. That fear-mongering is so insulting. Tommy, I know you're not world's biggest Trump fan. Do you feel like you're going to die if he's going to be the president? Like, no, this is absurd. The smart women have to be so offended by the Harris campaign. And you're correct to note that she will not behave in a way that is remotely authentic. We have no idea what she believes. I've studied her for years because she's a Californian. I wrote about her in my book, Breaking Biden. She's not authentic. She's inauthentic. This is an authentic moment. And until they show me some data that suggests they're outperforming the polls, then I feel good about Trump winning tonight.
I feel better than I've felt in a long time about a Trump victory. It feels a lot more to me like 2016. 2020 was just an effed up year. Let's be honest. People were scared of COVID. Their minds were warped because of COVID and from breathing in the mask fumes all day and night, being locked in their homes. You've got rage, justice for George Floyd protests going on. I mean, it was nuts. It was madness. It was toddlers being escorted off planes for not wearing masks. It was a weird year. And people thought that Joe Biden was going to calm everyone down. Well, he's so calm, he's asleep. But it was a weird year. Throw it out. Let's go back to 2016. This feels a lot more like 2016 to me. And I feel better today than I felt in 2016, because in 2016, they told us Hillary was going to be, our first woman president. I feel better today. I think things are looking good today. What does it tell you, with all of your political knowledge and wisdom, that Kamala has spent so much time in Pennsylvania, even doing fake door knocking, inauthentic to the very end last night, asking people to go back in their homes so she could knock on their door? Do you think them spending all that time in Pennsylvania tells you they're real worried about it?
Yeah, they're really worried about it. And in a way, there's a smart nature to it, which is that I think whoever wins Pennsylvania is going to win the election. I'm not saying it will come down to Pennsylvania. I'm just saying that I do think whoever is the winner of Pennsylvania is probably going to be the one who gets the 270 electoral votes. So it makes some sense. And she's in a terrible job appealing to that state, because first of all, they overlooked a clearly more qualified vice presidential candidate, Josh Shapiro, who's the governor there, to go with Tim Walz, who is the weirdest person on planet Earth. That was not good. And she's also said in the past that she's for a ban on fracking. She's since flip-flopped on that. But there's billions of dollars waiting under the soil for some entrepreneurial president to go get it in Pennsylvania. So that state did not do great during the Bidenflation brought on by Kamala Harris, breaking all those tie-breaking votes with the deficit spending. And so she's a terrible track record in that state, and she does need to win it. But it certainly shows you that her map is best case scenario, Joe Biden's map plus North Carolina. And I'll tell you, I think it was Decision Desk, which is one of the more reputable outfits that tries to predict where things are going. I think they've said North Carolina is not even in the toss-up category now. Trump's so far ahead there. So it's noteworthy that she has done a terrible job expanding the map. And you really laid out, I think, there pretty articulately the state of where things have gone. Because looking at 2016, where I thought Trump would win despite the polling, it did feel like he was bringing in lots of different people who were disaffected by the current state of affairs led by Barack Obama, but also the permanent political class embodied by Hillary Clinton. It feels like that vibe again now. And all of these new people who are the Trump surrogates, regardless of if you like these people or love them or somewhere in between, but when you're seeing Tulsi Gabbard and Robert Kennedy and Elon Musk and Joe Rogan now endorsing, and all these people, again, I don't love all these people, but I'm just saying this is a much newer, more diverse coalition that Trump is bringing. This is a huge tent. This is a bigger tent than we've ever seen from Trump. Is Kamala adding to the Biden won in 2020 by 80,000 votes. And that was with the coronavirus. That was with all the rioting that, let's be honest, Donald Trump didn't really clamp down on. That was with Trump doing all those insane press conferences where he gave the media everything he wanted during the pandemic. All of those mistakes made by Trump, and still 80,000 votes, and he would have won in 2020 anyway. He's in better shape than he was last time.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. And I also think that Kamala is a uniquely bad candidate. You and I have talked about this before. I really am not saying this to be mean-spirited. I'm not saying it because she's a Democrat. I'm not saying it because she's a woman of color. I'm saying it because she is uniquely Kamala. I don't think she's very smart. And if she is, she does a great job of hiding it. And if she was confident in her ability to articulate policies, then she would have done more actual interviews. She would be able to tell us where she stands on Prop 36 in her home state of California, where she is apparently the prosecutor. She should be able to tell us where she stands on one of the most important ballot initiatives in her home state. She couldn't do it. She wouldn't do it. That tells me she's vacant. And unless someone tells her how to think, what to say, where to move, where to go, she has nothing. Her ability to think on her feet is dismal. It's worse than Joe, and Joe can barely stay on his feet.
That's right.
But here's what I'm thinking about today, too, and this map and how Donald Trump's doing and the coalition and the unity that he's bringing forth. I think that Democrats think that there's going to be, and I saw Adam Kinzinger, the little fella, say it today even, that there's going to be this wave of Republicans that are going to show up for Kamala Harris today. How likely do you think that is to happen?
Oh, not at all. I think that's a complete astroturf. I think that's a psyop. I think their psyops are much weaker this time around than in past years. But all of this is a psyop. It's just them trying to get their people motivated, feeling like they're going to vote for a winner. But their whole playbook is shot. They've tried everything: the celebrity endorsements, the demonizing, the fear mongering, the claiming we want unity, but then saying that if we don't win, then a fascist is in charge. All of their same playbook. They've tried everything, and she doesn't fog a mirror in the poll. She's never got to 50%. And, you know, Tommy, you and I famously have gone back and forth on whether or not Joe Biden would make it. You called that part right. And part of the reason why I was saying Joe's going to stay in there, he was a better candidate until that disastrous debate. He's a smarter person. He's more appealing despite all of his flaws. And I wrote a book on all of his flaws, so I know there's many of them. He was still better than she is because you nailed it. She's not bright. And this is new for the Democrats. They nominate bright people, and they'll probably nominate someone bright next time. But this time they didn't. They found someone who is just a collage of the donor interests and the special interests of their party. She looks like a new face. She's actually a throwback. She's a throwback to more machine politics where they just prop someone in there who will do what the donors tell them. Her best friend is Laurene Powell Jobs, who is a tech heiress and owns the Atlantic magazine. This is old school stuff. She was chosen by Nancy Pelosi and Barack Obama. Those three people are the ones who installed her without winning a single Democratic vote. And she goes out there and acts like she's the savior of democracy. Any bright American who isn't 100% fixated on abortion has to have processed this by this point.
I want to ask you about that. I was on Fox and Friends First this morning, very early in the morning, and I said, listen, I know that Kamala is expecting all these women to come out, maybe Republican women to come out and vote for her, but I think that there is a sleeper cell of voters that the Kamala campaign has not taken into account, and I consider them what I coined them as the Melania voter, somebody that's a pro-choice person, a pro-choice woman that will still vote for Donald Trump, that if they have a ballot initiative on their ballot, they will not vote to restrict abortion. They'll vote down any abortion restriction, but they will still vote for Donald Trump. They believe Donald Trump when he says he will not sign a national abortion ban. They want their country to be safe and secure, but they will vote against abortion restrictions, but they will also cast a vote for Donald Trump. I think, because I'm a millennial and a lot of my friends are in that category, I think that there is a large group of women that could make a difference that are in that pro-choice, pro-Trump category. What are your thoughts on my analysis there?
This is absolutely something I'm curious to see if you're right, because I have no data to know one way or the other. But I think you're connecting a lot of really important dots here, because if you think about the nature of the abortion discussion in this country, ideologically, yes, Donald Trump is going to support judges, justices who believe in a constitution that does not sanctify the right to abortions. That said, since Roe v. Wade was overturned, I don't have the data in front of me, Tommy, but I don't think abortions have gone down. I think they've maybe even gone up.
They've gone up.
Yeah, I think they've gone up. So it's one of these things where abortion access in this country, like it or not, is fairly high. And if you really want an abortion in this country, you can get one. I'm not commenting on that on a moral issue. I'm just saying on a practical issue. So you would like to think that some women who might be mothers, who might be younger and might believe that you should have the right to have one, they might still be more concerned about the cost of groceries, which I still think is the number one issue in this country. They might have finally got the picture that the open borders, where we're literally funding the cartels to human smuggle and smuggle drugs into our country and ruin our communities, not to mention come here and compete for housing, compete for jobs, et cetera, that's not acceptable. That might be more important to some of those voters, even if they are pro-choice, knowing that they can probably get an abortion if they needed one.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, that voter is me. I mean, I live in Tennessee, right? We have strict abortion laws here. But if that was a ballot initiative here in Tennessee and I was voting for, one of the more extreme abortion bans, I would vote no, but I would obviously vote for Donald Trump. That voter is me. That voter is most of my friends. Like, I wouldn't vote to restrict those things. I think that they actually increase abortions. I think, the government doesn't solve the problem. That is me. I am a pro-choice, pro-Trump voter. And I think that there are a lot of women out there that check that box. And they're still going to vote for Donald Trump because they can do both, right? I don't think they feel like they have to pick. Also smart enough to understand if they are really worried about abortion, and there are some that are very, very worried about it. That's not where I am in my life. I'm not ultra worried about it either way. But I'll tell you, we're also smart enough, a lot of women, contrary to what Mark Cuban thinks, smart enough to realize that if we have Donald Trump as our president, not only is he vowed not to sign a national abortion ban, he wanted it to go back to the states. That's the whole reason we got the Supreme Court decision and those justices voted the way they did. But also understand that this is not going to get by Congress. Like, I mean, come on. You have to be brain dead to think that we're actually going to pass a national abortion ban in this country. It's not going to happen. The numbers are not there. Much more important things can be done. We mentioned the Joe Rogan endorsement. I think there's an endorsement that is perhaps, to me, more important, and to many that live on social media, more important than a Joe Rogan endorsement. And that's the baby hippo, Deng, who has picked Donald Trump over Kamala Harris. I don't know how much stake you put into this hippo, but Alex, I put a lot of stake into it, and he's going for Trump.
Yeah, I don't know. This is the type of stuff because I'm generally a fairly silly person. My kids would tell you that, and I really do live to have a good time. But I don't know. I find at this point of the race, like I couldn't believe we were closing the race with Peanut the squirrel over the weekend. I mean, we literally left the border open so the cartels could thrive in this country. I think I spent $700 on groceries last week, and we're talking about Peanut, and it's just like we all just agreed that we're
Alex,
all allowed to
you can do
just
both. I care a lot about Peanut the squirrel and Fred the raccoon, and I also care a lot about how much money I'm spending on groceries. You can do both, like I said. But I'll tell you why Peanut the squirrel to me is also important, because it's a prime example of government overreach. To your point, look at the millions that have streamed across our southern border that are loitering the streets of every major city right now. You know, they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats, they're killing the squirrels. And guess what? You've got law enforcement officers that are raiding an animal sanctuary to go after a squirrel and a raccoon. That to me, although it might seem small, I think it's symbolic of a much bigger issue here. So I think you can care about Deng and the fact that he picked Trump. You can care about Peanut and Fred, and you can vote Donald Trump. I think all things are connected here.
You've got my head spinning, Tommy. I have no idea where you actually stand on any of this, but I'm going to take you literally because I have no other choice.
I swear to God, I was outraged over the weekend about
Any
Peanut
excuse
the
to put
squirrel.
Deng on the screen, I'm all for it.
Yes.
And just
We
to
need
know
some
that Deng's going
lightness
to grow
today.
up and be a vicious hippo, one of the killing machines on God's green earth, is just. It's going to be surreal to watch. I hope we get to see the whole lifeline of Deng. I think that's something I really miss about Harambe, is that we only got to see adult Harambe. I would have loved to have seen baby Harambe. I would have loved to have seen him grow into the just exquisite gorilla that he turned into throughout his life. But your point about government overreach is totally well stated. And I'm semi-obsessed with the lawfare on President Trump. I'm sure I would love to spend more time talking to you about that down the road. But it is unbelievable that they spend so much time going after him and his supporters. And that's what they use the law for. They don't go after any rioters. They don't go after, the Hunter Bidens of the world. And then they do go after the people who have the squirrels as pets. And it does show you a deeply broken judicial system. And it's one that needs a real comeuppance. And hopefully we'll start getting it tonight.
Gosh, I hope so. Because I also want to laugh today. It's a very serious day. This is another cause for laughter. It might be the best thing I've seen all election cycle. We know liberals, they love an open border. They love the migrants unfettered everywhere in your community, in my community, but maybe not so much in their own communities. This might be the best thing I've ever seen to date. Let's take a look together.
So you would do anything for like all the illegals
I think
and
we
stuff?
have to be fair.
Guys, this is great. I think we found a new home for you guys.
What guys?
There you go.
Is that your bus?
Yeah.
I don't understand what this is about.
The immigration. They're gonna move into your house.
They are not.
What do you mean? You just said you wanted to support everyone though.
Okay, that I don't.
No, they're
Guys,
not
we
violent.
got a
They're
new
not
house.
violent. They're good. They're
Oh no,
like
hop
that.
it! Just like you guys did before.
Thank you very much.
Can they stay for dinner? Wait.
Sorry.
Well, we have your signature.
I mean,
Brilliant.
it might be humorous, but it's also 100% true.
Yeah, it's a brilliant point. It's a brilliant point. And this is one of the points that people have made for years, is that if Democrats didn't have double standards, they wouldn't have standards at all. They want the illegal aliens to be there to clean their houses and to tend to their gardens, and then eventually to vote Democrat, but they don't really want them in their homes. They don't really want to associate them. They want them to be balkanized in their own community. We're supposed to have a country of many one, And I'll tell you, a lot of areas where I live in LA, illegal aliens come here. They get incredible health care. You know why? Because if you show up at a hospital, then you're treated well. You're treated well because that's how we do it in America. We treat people with respect and dignity. And it's just so cynical the way the Democrats want to leave the open borders open so that they could pay their housekeepers a little bit less and they could get these voters so they don't have to have kids themselves. And then they won't actually be warm and kind and loving to these people if they get dropped off in their communities. They just reject them as subhumans. It's a second class of citizens. And it is a profound way of illustrating that point. So good on whoever did that video.
I mean, it was masterful. And I think it should be done in every sanctuary city as well. And, especially in California. I lived in California. I think the largest population of illegal immigrants is in California, though. I mean, who knows anymore? There's so many being spread out, especially into the swing states.
That's my guess, too, but who knows?
I have to ask you, because you are in California, God only knows why. How is Prop 36 going to go, in your opinion?
It's going to be a blowout. And that's why what Kamala Harris is, her refusing to get off the fence, the law and order side is going to win. There's way more sane people in California than probably any other state, just because there's so many people. Unfortunately, there's way, 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 way more insane people here. So, but no, this one's going to go the good way. And Harris failing to get off the sideline. That's why it's so profound what you said, because this is clear cut with the voters of California. Even she just doesn't want to provide content where people can use it to drive a wedge between her and her base, because she's concerned she's not going to get her whole base to turn out. This became official after October the 7th, where now she's losing both Jews and Muslims, or it was Biden at the time, and now it's her. She started to hemorrhage parts of her base. Biden was incredible at keeping his base coalitions together. That's part of why he had so much success for 50 years, even though he's, of limited talent. Harris has done a bad job of keeping her base. Not everyone is going to show up for her. And that's why she doesn't want to alienate people who are those hardcore, soft on crime leftists.
Yeah, she doesn't want to offend the shoplifters, which I think is
That's
incredibly telling. It's like, that's probably, it could be part of my base here. We want people to be able to run wild and steal things.
Hamas and shoplifters, that's part of the base now.
Exactly. And, you're right about that. Because I don't think she honestly has a definitive opinion. I think she sits back and she waits for someone to give her an opinion. I just don't think she is that bright. I don't want to put the cart before the horse. I don't want to be overly optimistic or overly confident, but I do have to ask, in your analysis, what do you think happens if Kamala and Tim Walz lose? What is next for them?
It's going to be the biggest mental health breakdown we've ever seen. We're already tracking it at Breitbart News. I'm calling it a mental health crisis. You'll see the stories on the front page. And that's the only way to attribute some of the reactions that we're seeing online. And you can see just some of the vibes that you're seeing on MSNBC and in the establishment media. They're just warning of fascism. They're complaining about misinformation. It's just all going to be, this is the end of the world as we know it. And there will be no introspection. There will be no suggesting that they need to diversify beyond just one single issue, which is abortion, to get people to turn out the vote, that their claims to be the stewards of democracy and not having a Democrat primary was probably stupid. They're not going to see any of that. It's just going to be, we're really, really bad guys. That's all fascism means. They've never studied fascism. They don't know the first thing about fascism. All it means is we're really bad people and we support a really bad guy. And it's just going to be nonstop attacks and hand-wringing and a total meltdown. It's going to be sort of glorious from a content perspective, Tommy, but as a younger person with a young family, I'm kind of sad for the country that's my prediction of what's going to happen.
I just hope we see the day this week, preferably, when the liberals melt down and scream at the sky. I'm really, really hopeful for that.
You're going to get it.
It would
take it to the bank. If Trump wins, you're going to get it.
Well, if Trump wins, absolutely. I'm trying not to be overly confident in a Trump victory. I would hate to be that and then be surprised the other way, as I was in 2020. What do you think about the House and the Senate, though? I know everybody's talking, obviously, Kamala, Trump, but it's important. Congress is important. If Trump wins, we're going to need to be, unified and carrying out the agenda. If Trump were to lose, we need something in place to keep our country from going full communist. So how do you think those are going to shake out?
Yeah, the Senate's going to be great for Republicans. It'll be good or great. We're going to get the West Virginia seat, so that's good. There's only 2 states where we're defending, and that's Rick Scott in Florida and Ted Cruz in Texas. I think both of those guys are going to win. And the Cruz one is going to be awesome because there's been so much spending on Colin Allred, the Democrat candidate. That'll be a good dunk, assuming he gets that across. I don't know for sure, but those are still looking good. They'll probably be tighter than we want, but I still think Republicans win. And then there's a bunch of really interesting seats. The next two most interesting are Ohio with Bernie Moreno versus Sherrod Brown. Sherrod Brown's one of the biggest phonies in the whole Senate. He's been an elected leader for 50 years, 50, and he just has a bad haircut and he wears wrinkly suits. So people think he's a man of the people. He's a total elite. And I feel like he's ripe for the pickings. So I also favor the Republicans in Montana. John Tester's done the same thing where he impersonates a normal guy, even though he's a Democrat. So I think those are pretty good pickups potential for Republicans. And then you're looking at Nevada, Arizona, Michigan, Wisconsin, all places where Republicans can contest. The only thing in the Senate that's somewhat negative for me is if we don't run the table. 2026 is a very hostile map for Republicans. And it would be nice, God forbid, if Trump not only wins, but he can actually govern for 4 years. That would be incredible. So I would love to see what he could do for 4 years. So that's going to be much harder in 2026 if Republicans don't run the table tonight. So it's a big deal. If you're in any of those states I just mentioned, and you think that for whatever reason you weren't thinking about voting, please go out there and vote. There's tons of House races too, but I feel like that could be a much longer conversation.
Right. Well, the Senate, that's what we feel like is important. Everything's important. I mean, geez, let's get us back to a place, like you said, where we can have a victory, but actually make some changes, because there's going to be a lot of expectations on a Trump administration to perform. And I'd like to see him be unshackled, unburdened by what has been, and be able to govern. But again, don't want to put the cart before the horse. We still got a full day of people needing to go out and vote and make sure that they get out there. What do you think? I know you're confident in a Trump victory. Do you think, in closing, there's any chance he could win a popular vote? I know that that's a lot.
Yeah. I do. I mean, these early voting numbers are unbelievably good for Republicans. Now, I will say a lot of us have turned the corner. I had by 2020, but a lot of people since 2020 have turned the corner and just said, well, we don't like mail-in ballots, and we would love to have a national election day where everyone votes. We would love to have it do whatever they're doing down in Florida where they've nailed it. Let's just import that to all 50 states and with the mail-in vote, and then that'll be how we vote. But that's not how it is. And it was imperative for us to try to do everything we can to, the way my friend Charlie Kirk puts it, chase the ballots. And I feel like we've done that clearly. So the question is, did we, quote unquote, cannibalize the vote that would have been in person? I'm pretty convinced we didn't. I'm pretty convinced we added a lot of new voters, and the Democrats are just lukewarm to their candidate and to their circumstances, and to the fact that Joe Biden stunk. He was a bad president. He was a historically bad president, and Kamala was right there every decision, as Joe Biden said. So I have nothing but optimism. And again, I'm happy. I've done it in the past with you, Tommy. If I'm wrong, I will come in and eat those words. But all my math is showing, not just my feelings, my math is showing that this is just a very, very favorable night if you're a Republican.
You don't have a crystal ball. Will we know by tonight as it flips over into Wednesday morning? Do you think we'll know who our president is going to be?
Yeah. So my official prediction, I've been on the record with this, and it's fun to make these, even if you're wrong sometimes, is that Trump will win and we will know tonight. I think that's the most likely outcome. I wouldn't say a 50% outcome, but I think there's a very good chance that's the plurality, the most likely.
You think before
scenario.
midnight on the East Coast?
Yeah, midnight-ish. I think ish. Yeah, around that time. I think that's my take.
Wow.
That we'll know, and I think Trump's going to win. I do think there's a small chance that I will say there's a significant chance that Kamala wins a nail biter or that Trump wins a nail biter. And those could take weeks to sort out. Mark Elias has 10,000 lawyers who have vowed to sue until blue. So if there's even one state that's contested that could potentially change the electoral outcome, where there's a semi-legitimate lawsuit, assume he's going to sue in 5 or 6 states, it is going to be gnarly. So if it's a close one, this could go on forever. I do think there's a chance Kamala wins narrowly. There's a chance Trump wins narrowly. Those could be painful. I think there is absolutely no chance Kamala's going to win in a blowout. I would take that to the bank. That is not going to happen. So those are your 3 scenarios, and my prediction is the good one.
Please, for the love of God, don't make this go into January like it did in 2020. Like, please, please,
Yep.
people, get out and vote. Let's all go into the holiday season with joy in our hearts. That's what I want. And a Trump victory. That's what I want for all the upcoming holidays. Alex, you've got a new show, which I think is obviously a long time in the making, because I don't know why you don't already have your own platform, because you're so smart and you do such a great job on Breitbart. But where can my listeners also listen to you?
Thank you. It's been a long time coming. I was on Sirius XM as the morning host for 7 years, and I did it for a couple years out in LA, starting at 3 a.m. And I really needed to reset the dials after that, getting up at 2 a.m. God does not want you to do that, ladies and gentlemen. If you've got a family member who's working a night shift, please encourage them to get through that phase of their life quickly. But the dials have been reset, and it's going to be wherever you can get your podcasts. So we'll be promoting it heavily at Breitbart. It's on the Salem networks as well, but iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, those are the places to get it. And I would love to talk to you over there, Tomi, when you get a chance.
I would love to. I would love to be a guest, and I always appreciate you coming in clutch for me with your analysis. So important, and I hope to talk to you soon after we get, let's hope, that Trump victory, God willing. Thanks so much, Alex.
Yeah,
have a wonderful, go ahead.
And don't misinterpret our optimism. Get everyone you know in your life to go vote, because they can absolutely win this thing. If it's close, it's got to be outside the margin of cheating. So any of the good vibes Tomi and I are bringing, those are not real. The only thing that's real is voting.
Exactly. I could not agree with you more. I echo that sentiment. Thank you so much, Alex. Have a fantastic election day and election night.
You too, Tomi.
And
Thank you.
election morning. Who knows? Election season. It could be all the way until New Year, maybe even after. Good to talk to you. And I will talk to you soon on your show or mine, or both.
Thanks again.
Of course. All right, folks, as you're prepared to make one of the biggest decisions of your electoral life, let me ask you a very simple question. Can you afford Kamala? It all comes down to this, folks. The polls don't matter. The pundits don't matter. The concerts, the sound bites, the yard signs, none of it matters now. All that matters is that you vote. And I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I will tell you what I voted on. And it's not the social media outrage campaign. I don't really care that Joe called us garbage. I don't really care that Mark Cuban thinks we're weak and dumb. I'm actually not offended, nor do I care much what either of those fools think of us. I am far more offended by the fact that 10 million plus illegal aliens have been allowed to invade this country, prey on our citizens, and bankrupt our communities. That is my election issue. And the fact that Joe and Kamala delivered more illegal aliens in the month of October than jobs. 12,000 jobs over 56,000 illegals. How does that even happen? Not by accident, I'll tell you that. Even gross incompetence can't deliver that kind of a disparity. And if Kamala wins tonight, you can bet that every single one of those millions she let in will get amnesty. They will compete for jobs, they will compete for government assistance, and newsflash, they will win, because they always do. They'll also be loyal Democrat voters till the end of time, meaning we will never undo this mess. So to the folks out there who were on the fence and thinking about casting your vote for Kamala because you hate Trump, ask yourself if you can really afford to vote based on personality. Can you? To those women who are going to vote Kamala based solely on abortion, can you afford to do that? Well, Jennifer Aniston can. J-Lo can. Lady Gaga, Beyonce, Katy Perry, Reese Witherspoon, they can. Can you, though? Can you afford to pay for your grocery bill and your energy bill and your mortgage payment and fund 2 foreign endless wars and 15 million illegal immigrants? If you can, by all means, vote for Kamala. If you're ready and willing to send your son or daughter to fight in Kamala and Liz Cheney's endless wars, go ahead and vote for Kamala. If your visceral reaction to what Trump says is more important to you than all of those things, vote for Kamala. But if you, by chance, don't happen to be an actress or a pop star, or perhaps if you just care about the average Americans out there struggling to make ends meet, or the seniors putting food back at the supermarket register, then you might need to get over how Trump makes you feel, and you might need to vote for the person who has proven he can run this country. Because if you help elect Kamala, I can promise you this, all those celebrities who endorsed her, they'll manage, they can afford it. But can you afford 4 more years of what she and Democrats have done to ravage this country? That's the real question, and it's the only one that matters today. And those are my final thoughts. Please get out and vote if you haven't already. Your vote might be the one that puts this thing over the edge. Also, please tune in to our live Fox Nation election coverage tonight, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern on Fox Nation, streaming live from the great city of Nashville, Tennessee. We've got this, but make sure you vote. From Nashville, God bless and take care. Hey, thanks for watching. If you want more of my hottest takes, must-see conversations, and of course, my final thoughts, click here and make sure you subscribe here so you never miss a beat. I'll be here every weekday, and I hope you'll join me.